Here are 20 theories about Squid Game. 1. Cards determines roles in the game. A theory that's popular in TikTok states that the dokji that Ki-hun plays with the salesman determines his role in the game. Ki-hun ultimately chooses the blue card, but there was also an option to choose the red card. Had he chosen the red card, his role would have been a guard. 2. The old man is actually Ki-hun's father. When Ki-hun gets out of the game, he coincidentally meets the old man in front of the convenience store. It almost seems like fate that they met. Since the old man is rich, he wouldn't be in that area unless he was looking for a specific person, someone like Ki-hun. Also, when Ki-hun talks to the old man about how he used to get spanked a lot as a kid, the old man replies by saying that his son did too. Although it may seem a little far-fetched, it can't be ruled out for certain, considering all the plot twists that have happened in Season 1. 3. The stepfather of Ki-hun's daughter is connected to the games. When Ki-hun goes to visit his daughter, her stepfather tells him that the family will soon be moving to America. When the frontman talks on the phone, he speaks English, even though there are VIPs from other countries. This detail wouldn't have been added about the family moving to America for no reason. Fans thought that the stepfather could be involved with the creators of the games. Could he be the one who runs the games in America? 4. The police officer isn't really dead. The police officer's death did no justice compared to the struggles he went through in the game and all the information he learned. Seeing the frontman's sadness about his brother's death, viewers can only hope that he saved his brother behind the scenes. But then again, his death could also be a representation of the failed attempts to expose the games, implying that the games are an endless cycle. 5. The salesman is actually the old man's son, and he's going to continue the games. Given that Ko In-yu, the actor who played the salesman, is such a big actor, viewers say that there's no way that he was just given the role of a salesman. He could play a larger role in the second season, such as being the old man's son who is going to continue the games. It does make sense, given that the salesman is the one who's recruiting everyone for each game and already plays a large part in continuing the games. 6. The old man set up the games in order to find his son. This is another one of the far-fetched theories, but it could be true. By the end of the season, the viewers note that the old man is lonely and that he has no one to turn to, even if he has a ton of money. However, he does reminisce about his son, as shown in the scene where the old man says that his son used to get spanked for mischief when he was younger. Because the old man has all this money and doesn't know what to do with it, he may have created the games to find his potentially missing son. 7. Ki-hun's red hair at the end of the drama is hinting that he'll go in as a guard. Remember the card theory that was discussed earlier? Going off on that theory, fans speculate that the reason Ki-hun dyes his hair at the end of the season is because he wants to go into the games again, and expose it once and for all, this time as a guard. 8. The VIPs are past winners of the game. The VIPs clearly know a lot about the games, and all of them seem to look equally excited for them. This excitement could come from the feelings they once had while they were in the game themselves. Because they know the feeling of being in the game and coming out victorious, they're excited to watch how each player performs in the games. 9. The three main colors are symbolic. There are quite a few striking colors on the show, with some of the more notable ones featured in Squid Game's iconic costumes. According to the Redditor, Modesty Gideon, these colors are not randomly chosen and represent characters' choices and roles in the competition. The user's post shows a Venn diagram featuring three main colors, magenta, cyan, and yellow. The theory claims that the color cyan represents the people on the show, magenta is linked to a system, and yellow means money. The rest of the images give examples of combinations of the colors. The most intriguing part of the post is its conclusion that says the frontman has all the colors, as he's a person, cyan, who turned into a player, green, and got money, yellow. This is why his outfit is black. 10. Ki-hun's plane is rigged. In the final episode of the show, Ki-hun decides to turn back at the last moment and fails to board his plane. This is probably a good thing because one of Squid Game's most likable characters might have been spared by this small act. According to Redditor, I actually know nothing, they were going to blow up the plane, likely referring to In-ho and the VIPs. They highlight how this was foreshadowed in an earlier episode where someone says, rich or poor, in a plane crash you are all the same. If proven true, this theory would change the meaning behind the frontman's insistence that Kihyun should get on the plane for his own good. 11. Kihyun and Il-nam's numbers are symbolic. The Redditor 7DS Pride prefaces his theory by saying it's mainly symbolic. They think that Kihyun represents the end of the Squid Game as a long-running institution, because he is the final player who gets the last number, 456. On the other hand, Il-nam is numbered 001 because he represents the origin of the game. Since it's implied in the ending that Kihyun is going to find a way back to the games to put an end to the messed-up competition, this theory might be correct. If the show gets a second season, fans will hopefully find out if the protagonist can successfully stop the next contest. 12. There's an extra set of marbles in Il-nam's home. Despite Il-nam's fake death infuriating fans, who discover his real identity towards the end of the show, it was still a harrowing moment when it happened in the fourth game. According to Redditor Heatherfeather, however, it could have been completely avoided. They detail how when Il-nam was having an episode in the game, he was actually going to reveal a way for him and Kihyun to safely get through the level together. If Kihyun had just waited for him to get inside his house, he could have had an extra set of marbles there. They highlight how Il-nam says they could have a final bet, with everything that I still have here, as he was trying to tell Kihyun he had marbles in the house. That game could have ended very differently if the protagonist had just stopped and listened. 13. Squid Game is one of several international competitions. A brief interaction between two of the VIPs at the end of the series has left many viewers wondering whether the Squid Game universe connects to other dystopian stories with similar survival game plots. The games of this edition have been amazing, one VIP says. To which another responds, right, the contest in Korea was the best. Viewers are speculating that this line might suggest that competitions similar to a Squid Game occur worldwide. TikToker Ruth Belpan points out that perhaps the similar storylines presented in shows like Alice in Borderland, in Japan, and the movie franchise, The Hunger Games, in the US are each country's version of the international competition. 14. Purposely bad acting. It's no secret that foreign or white characters in K-dramas often have terrible lines and impossibly bad acting. But some viewers have questioned whether it was intentionally bad in a Squid Game, to mirror the way Western representation of Asians in the media is typically one-dimensional and riddled with stereotypes. One user on Reddit points out that the show director Hwang Dong-hyuk spent a considerable amount of time in the US, since he studied film at the University of Southern California and would therefore not have incorporated bad acting on purpose. There are also alleged screenshots from one of the VIP actors that suggest they were intentionally written as cheesy, callous man-children. Some viewers, however, have suspected that the lines may have been left simplistic enough to villainize the characters without having them be too complicated, for the primarily Korean-speaking audience that creators likely anticipated. 15. The Matrix symbolism. Similar to the guard theory, another theory dives into the choice presented during the dokji scene. The red and blue color scheme has been popularized as symbols of truth versus blissful ignorance from the Matrix series, where the character Neo must choose between a red and blue pill. The red pill would lead Neo to a life-altering discovery of life and humankind. Kihyun's choice of the blue card, combined with his character's overall appearance throughout the series in blue or cool-colored clothing, has fans believing it is an intentional directorial choice to show Kihyun's willful ignorance as he participates in the games. The red hair at the end marks a shift in Kihyun and foreshadows his return to dismantle the system he's become aware of. TikToker Faya Val also points out that the show does explicitly reference The Matrix. At one point after the tug-of-war game, one of the characters compares the team's leaning back strategy to the film's iconic slow-motion scene where Neo leans back to dodge bullets. 16. Kihyun will put an end to the games. As the extended epilogue in Squid Game's final episode proves, life after the competition isn't that sweet for Kihyun. His mom, his catalyst for getting back into the deadly contest, has died, and with her GI Gun's motivation to spend any of his hard-won wealth. Now, equipped with an iconic new look, he seems keen to prevent any more people from being treated like horses, like he was. According to Redditor 7DS Pride, Kihyun was fated to stop the games from the start. Being the last contestant, 456, represents the end of the Squid Game as a long-running institution, compared to 001, who symbolizes the game's origins. By this logic, Season 2 could see Kihyun carry out a mission to stop the deadly tradition. But probably not without a fight. 17. The players who didn't return to the games are now workers. After the games are cancelled following the first vote, most players return to play as they all become increasingly desperate for money. However, 14 choose not to come back because they didn't want to put their lives at risk. Fair enough. We see Front Man telling the other guards to keep an eye on those who didn't return, but what could he have meant by that? Well, one theory is that these 14 people will be given the opportunity to pay their debts as a red worker. The workers are, for the most part, safe from harm as long as they obey the rules and avoid antagonizing contestants. It would also serve as a surefire way to prevent them from leaking their knowledge of the games to the outside world. If we look at the 14 contestants who didn't return to this game, alongside former contestants who hadn't returned to previous years, it would mean there's over 100 players who are roaming around, which is similar to the number of armed guards. 18. Squid Game is a working model of game theory. This is one for the economists. The tournaments are simply a huge metaphor for game theory in action. For those unaware, game theory is the study of interactive decision-making, where the outcome for each player depends on the actions of all. When deciding a strategy, you must consider the actions and choices of others, but, in thinking about their decisions, you must realize they are thinking about your decisions, and so on. Squid Game is an example of a zero-sum. In this game, one man's death is another man's chance at life with prize money. Let's look at it in action. These players are desperate, at the end of their tether, and simply have little choice but to join the game, even if the cost of losing is death. The host of this game invited only those who are in large amounts of debt and have no way to come back from it unless they play the game and win the prize money. Without joining the game, the participants have no way to pay off their debt, and life would just be hell on earth, which isn't any better than death. Therefore, the players have no choice but to choose playing the game as their dominant strategy. This makes Squid Game all the more poignant, as it emphasizes the yawning chasm between the choices of the super rich and the lack of choices of the very poor. 19. Is Ali still alive? Ali Abdul, also known as Player 199, was too pure for Squid Game. He has quickly become one of the most lovable, honest, and kind characters ever in TV history. We all knew Ali was a fan favorite when we watched him save Kihyun in Red Light, Green Light. We saw him build solid friendships, like his one with Sangwoo, Player 218. But I guess this made Ali's death even more heartbreaking when Sangwoo tricked him during the fourth game in episode 6. The death of Ali really struck a chord with fans of the show. So much so that we will literally believe any theory that tells us our Squid Game king, Ali, is alive and not dead. Luckily for us who are still holding out hope, there is a theory. Here it is explained. He could be alive and staying with the old man. The theory believes that in episode 6 of Squid Game Ali doesn't die because we never actually see him get shot. You can only see the worker who puts a gun up to Ali's head, but Ali getting shot isn't shown. Plus, the old man also gets shot in episode 6 but he doesn't die. This gives me hope that Ali, like the old man, is still alive because these are the only two deaths we don't see on the screen. So obviously they have to both be alive and well. Ali's death was never shown and people believe, somehow, he is connected to the owner of the game, Player 001. He was the only person out of the 456 players who hadn't played any of the games before. It's possible the old man recruited him to make everything seem more believable. Anything is possible and I am willing to believe everything that tells me Ali is alive. 20. Is Squid Game's Kong Se-byuk alive? Kong Se-byuk remains one of the most mysterious characters from the start. All that is said is that she is a North Korean defector who came to the South with her little brother for a better life. With the dream of a better life having shattered, Kang Se-byuk was forced to take part in the deadly games for her family. Throughout Squid Game, Kang Se-byuk was portrayed as someone who was cynical, cold, and looked out only for herself. Towards the end though, she had a change of heart, and it was a consequence of the said change of heart that she wound up dead, having broken the hearts of almost every single viewer. Some fans of the show have shown a ray of light with this theory. There are several theories doing rounds on the internet that claim that not only is Kang Se-byuk alive, but that she also managed to get off the island. One of the chief clues to this, according to viewers, is her death was never formally announced. Every time a participant died/got killed on Squid Game, a voice on the intercom announced the elimination of the particular participant. The announcement took place regardless of how the participant met their end. In the case of player number 067, Kang Se-byuk, no such announcement was heard. Se-byuk, at the end of the glass bridge game, got stabbed by a huge piece of glass. Unwilling to show weakness, she put on a brave face, and even wore the tuxedo for the final dinner. Eventually, though, her pain became obvious. When Kian ran to the guards to beg them to help Kang Se-byuk, Sang-woo made use of the opportunity to brutally stab player 067, apparently killing her instantly. The guards then brought out a coffin for Se-byuk and carried her away in silence, with only music to be heard. These were the most circled fan theories around the internet. Do you have any crazy theories about Squid Game? Share it with us in the comments.